Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. First responders in Florida say the vaccine mandate meant to protect public health is compromising public safety. That's while the governor says they're recruiting police officers from other states to make up for losses caused by the mandate. Protesters came out in support of NBA star Kyrie Irving during the Brooklyn Nets' first home game of the season. The NBA is not letting him play because of his vaccination status. A top Democrat saying Congress is close to a deal on President Biden's social spending plan, while others warn of inflation. What does the Treasury Secretary have to say? A crowd gathered to remember the life of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. She was killed on the set of the latest Alec Baldwin film. Questions remain about why this happened. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says Democrats pretty much have an agreement on the spending bill, and they plan to vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill next week. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Sunday that Democrats are nearing a deal on Biden's social spending package, but the price tag isn't clear yet.
I've said already we've 90% of the bill agreed to and written. We just have some of the last decisions to be made.
Democrats have struggled to agree on a framework of $2 trillion or less. All Republicans oppose it. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson says the bill hasn't been written yet and Pelosi can't explain what's in it.
It was as clear as mud. And what that tells the American people is we've got inflationary pressures that impact them. It's a crewless tax. And now all we see is more government spending. So it's really worrisome as a governor to hear what's planned.
President Biden met Sunday with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Joe Manchin to try to reach an agreement. The White House says it was productive and they made progress. Manchin's one of the few Democrats to voice significant concern about the package, and he did get the bill trimmed down. Biden wants a deal before he heads off to Europe this week. And Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Sunday she doesn't think inflation is getting out of control. Last week, former Obama Treasury Secretary Larry Summers expressed alarm, saying, "We're in more danger than we've been during my career of losing control of inflation in the U.S." But Yellen disagrees.
I think he's wrong. I don't think we're about to lose control of inflation. I agree, of course, we are going through a period of inflation that's higher than Americans have seen in a long time.
Yellen said she expects inflation to improve in the second half of next year. She also said she expects supply chain bottlenecks to subside as workers return. But a group representing air cargo companies warns that Biden's vaccine mandate for federal workers could trigger supply chain chaos. It comes during Christmas shopping season and could worsen the worker shortage. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will not say whether she is planning to run for re-election in the House next year. Her remarks came during a Sunday morning interview.
You want to ask about your own future in Congress. Are you going to run for re-election?
Oh, you think I'm going to make an announcement right here and now?
Yeah. Why not?
I'll have to be on many more times than that.
You're going to run for re-election, though, yes?
Why would I tell you that now?
Well, it's not just me. It's the American people. It's the world. This is an international show.
Well, probably I would have that conversation with my family first, if you don't mind.
While Pelosi has previously indicated that this is her last term as Speaker, she hasn't completely shut the door quite yet. It's fueled speculation that she could ultimately seek to prolong her 18-year tenure ruling the House Democratic Caucus. New York City is expanding its vaccine mandates again, and people are pushing back. On Sunday, demonstrators held 2 protests in Brooklyn. NTD's Arian Pastar was on the ground.
The bold and the brave, we all have to stand our ground.
The first rally was held at a park in Brooklyn. The main speaker was artist Jimmy Levy. His newest song about vaccine mandates reached #2 in the Billboard charts in the rap genre and #1 on iTunes.
This is a war on tradition. This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give it a go.
Levy says some artists don't speak up for what they think is right out of fear of losing material possessions.
In the end, we leave without our money. We leave without our mansions that they have right now. and your eternal life is there, and there's nothing coming with you. So,
After the rally at the park, demonstrators marched to the Barclays Center, where the Brooklyn Nets play their home games. The Brooklyn Nets are having their first home game of this season, but fans won't be seeing star player Kyrie Irving. He was suspended by his team due to his vaccination status. And that's what brings all of these demonstrators to the stadium here. They are saying they stand with Kyrie. 1 hour before the game started, Black Lives Matter joined the protest. They have spoken out against vaccine mandates in the past. They united with the other protesters, many of whom had pro-Trump hats, gear and signs. Demonstrators broke through the barriers and rushed to the entrance of the arena, demanding that the Nets let Kyrie Irving play. All the doors were closed and entry for visitors was halted. So what did fans think about Kyrie not being allowed to play?
I think they should let him play. I mean, I'm vaccinated, but I think they should let him play. I don't know if I think they should let him play because, like, you have to think about people's families and things like that.
According to Mark Shushkevich, who is running for city council, Kyrie should be praised more.
That's someone who's standing up. Kyrie Irving is not being praised by the mainstream media as a hero, but that's what real heroism is.
Whether Kyrie will be allowed to play or not in the future depends on his team, but the rules for other vaccine mandates in New York City might change a bit as the city is holding mayoral elections in 2 weeks. Ariane Pastar, NTD News, New York.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers is demanding Dr. Anthony Fauci answer reports that an institute he directs funded inhumane experiments in dogs. Documents uncovered by a watchdog group show the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases spent $1.68 million of taxpayer funds for experiments using beagles. 44 beagle puppies were force-fed with a drug for several weeks before killing and dissecting them. Lawmakers also criticized a procedure that was used to cut the dogs' vocal cords to keep them from barking, crying, or howling. There were also experiments on mice. The tests were conducted between October 2018 and February 2019. The watchdog says it's at least the fourth experiment on beagles funded by the government institute. Lawmakers say the experiments were unnecessary and that the Federal Drug Administration says testing human drugs on dogs is not required. The hashtag #ArrestFauci is trending on social media. Firefighters in Orange County, Florida say the vaccine mandate is causing rifts among the first responders. They say it's compromising public safety. Meanwhile, the county's mayor says county employees are now vaccinated at a rate higher than the community there. The pushback comes as Governor Ron Desantis offers a $5,000 bonus to police relocating to Florida. That's to make up for losses in the workforce due to the mandate. According to first responders, morale is so low in Florida's Orange County due to the vaccine mandate that it's compromising public safety. Infighting has resulted over differing views on the vaccine, leading to distraction, stress, and inability to work as a team. A spokesman says many of them fear the vaccine because they've responded to calls to the homes of people who have been seriously injured or died after getting it. Orange County hasn't responded to NTD. The CDC director says it's important for police to be vaccinated, but did not say whether the Biden administration would support a mandate for essential workers.
What we know from the police workforce is that there have been more deaths from the coronavirus over the last year and a half than all other causes of death for that workforce combined. So we believe it is very important to get these people vaccinated. There is a plan, should these people not want to be vaccinated, towards education and counseling to get people the information they need so that they are feeling comfortable in getting vaccinated.
This while Governor Ron DeSantis rolls out a new effort to boost recruitment for law enforcement officers. That's because the state has lost many of them due to the vaccine mandate. DeSantis told Fox News they're going to offer out-of-state police officers a $5,000 relocation bonus.
They couldn't do their job on Zoom. They had to be there, and they did it with honor and integrity. Now you have people that want to kick them out of their job over this shot, which is basically a personal decision.
He said they're going to have a special session to try to prevent people from losing their jobs based on vaccine choice. And a nuclear weapons lab in New Mexico with 14,000 employees has lost 185 employees due to vaccine mandates. The Los Alamos Nuclear Weapons Lab produced the world's first nuclear bomb, and now a lawsuit is being filed against the operator of the facility over the vaccine mandate. 26 employees were granted medical exemptions, and the 153 employees who got a religious exemption were placed on leave without pay or they're using vacation pay. The lab didn't immediately respond to NTD's inquiry to learn why that is the case. Mourners, including film industry professionals, turned out in Albuquerque, New Mexico for a candlelit vigil. They were there to remember cinematographer Halyna Hutchins after she was killed in a shooting incident on set involving actor Alec Baldwin.
Candles were lit on Saturday night in Albuquerque, New Mexico, as a crowd of 200 gathered to remember cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. She was killed on Thursday in a shooting incident involving actor Alec Baldwin on the set of a new film called Rust. Some of the attendees, which included film industry professionals, spoke about their devastation over Hutchins' death.
She was so dynamic, and when something like this happens, it's devastating to all of us. From background to crew to SAG actors to IATSE, everybody is devastated.
Others carried signs reading "safety on set," as details over what exactly happened that day remain murky.
Obviously something failed, and I don't know what failed, but the fact that this happened shows that an elemental piece of that safety protocol didn't work.
As a producer, you bear the responsibility. You have the power to say, we can stop this, we can realign, we can get the right crew, we get experienced crew.
Details have emerged suggesting the production was troubled before the accident. Several outlets reported that crew members walked off set just hours prior over what they said were poor working conditions. Last week, the LA Times reported that Baldwin's stunt double accidentally fired 2 rounds with a prop firearm after being told it was not loaded. Court records show the same mistake may have occurred on Thursday. Baldwin was given a gun that was said to be unloaded. However, when he fired the gun, Hutchins was struck fatally in the chest. According to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, it is unclear why the gun contained a projectile. Both the person in charge of weapons and the assistant director who handed Baldwin the gun could not be reached for comment. Baldwin said on Friday he was shocked and saddened by Hutchins' death and that he was fully cooperating with authorities.
President Biden has delayed the release of classified documents detailing the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. In a White House memo, Biden blames the pandemic for causing the delay. The October 22nd memo says continued postponement is necessary to protect against identifiable harm to the military defense, intelligence operations, law enforcement, or the conduct of foreign relations. It also notes the information will come out at the end of 2022 and that some information will be released in December 2021 if deemed appropriate for release to the public. The records must be released to comply with the 1992 Act of Congress. Kennedy was assassinated while his motorcade was driving through Dallas in November 1963. Over the years, the assassination case has continued to trigger debate and fascination, as many believe there's more to the story. The Trump administration released a trove of documents about JFK's assassination, but Trump pushed back the release of some records to 2021 over concerns related to identifiable harm to national security, law enforcement, or foreign affairs. Drivers in the Northern California town of Fairfield are navigating flash floodwaters. A powerful storm drenched communities in the region Sunday as they were already suffering from wildfires. The so-called bomb cyclone created mudslides and brought down power lines. The weather whiplash follows the busiest wildfire season in California history. Much of the region is suffering from various levels of drought. San Francisco and state capital Sacramento were also affected. Residents endured 50-mile-per-hour winds and power outages. Residents posted photos of the destruction to social media. Sacramento handed out sandbags to block floodwaters and opened evacuation centers, while the Sacramento Office of Emergency Service advised residents to be careful, especially of the dangers of driving through large pools of standing water. A bushfire in Metro Denver led to a spooky scene early Monday morning. The fire blazed through a haunted attraction at a nearby farm there. Responding firefighters had to truck in 3,000 gallons of water from the closest hydrant to fight the flames. They contained it shortly after 2 a.m., but allowed the interior to continue burning. No one had to be evacuated, and no injuries were reported. Investigators are looking into what caused the incident. The man Colombia describes as the world's most dangerous drug trafficker told security forces, "You beat me," when he was captured during an operation this weekend. That's according to the government, which pledged on Sunday to extradite the man swiftly to the United States.
Daro Antonio Usuga, also known as Otoniel, was caught over the weekend in the rural area of Antigua province. Over 500 special forces and 22 helicopters were involved in the operation. President Ivan Duque called it the biggest blow to drug trafficking since the death of Pablo Escobar. Otoniel is the leader of the drug trafficking group Clan del Golfo. It has some 1,200 armed men, and a majority of them are former members of far-right paramilitary groups operating throughout several provinces in Colombia. Otoniel is accused of exporting hundreds of tons of cocaine to the US each year. He is also accused of killing police officers, recruiting minors, and sexually abusing children, among other crimes. Colombia had offered a reward of up to about $800,000 for information on his whereabouts. The US government, meanwhile, offered a reward of up to $5 million. Although Duque said the drug lord's capture could mean the end of the Clan del Golfo, risk analysts warned that a new leader will most likely take over as head of the group.
And now to North Africa, where tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets of Sudan's capital today. That's after soldiers arrested most of Sudan's cabinet members and detained the prime minister in an apparent military coup. Injuries and gunfire have been reported.
Footage from local broadcasters shows protesters carrying the national flag near the military headquarters with plumes of black smoke and fire. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, a general who headed the Sovereign Council, a power-sharing ruling body, announced a state of emergency across the country and dissolved the council and the transitional government. Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok was detained and moved to an undisclosed location after refusing to issue a statement in support of the coup, according to the Information Ministry, which was still apparently under the control of Hamdok supporters. The ministry called for resistance against the coup. Sudan has been on edge since a failed coup plot just last month. Military and civilian groups have been sharing power following the toppling of the long-serving leader Omar al-Bashir 2 years ago. The military was meant to pass leadership of the Joint Sovereign Council to a civilian figure in the coming months. But transitional authorities had struggled to move forward on several issues, including whether to hand over Bashir to the International Criminal Court, where he is wanted on war crimes.
Still to come, a special event in New York City sees dogs put on their spooky best. Pets and their owners gathered to celebrate Halloween this weekend for the annual Tompkins Square Halloween Dog Parade. And a different kind of celebration kicks off in sunny Florida. Contestants raced to crack and eat the most crab claws in celebration of the state's stone crab harvest. Find out more here on NTD News.
You worked hard for your money. You invest in stability for your retirement and your family's future, to build and leave them with something greater. The next unprecedented financial crisis, political misstep, or unstable government can depreciate it all away. It was called the gold standard for a reason, the financial preservation of tomorrow. Diversify your assets against inflation, market volatility, and the unknown with real money. Hedge your wealth with the purest form of money, physical gold and silver. Because any currency printed on paper can be manipulated. What's backing up your IRA? Do what you need to do right now to be prepared with the Reagan Gold Group. Visit now, rggusakit.com, or call us at 866-912-1384. Receive up to $2,500 in free silver coins and a free safe with your new precious metals IRA. Call now.
Why could gold and silver prices be headed much higher? The Fed keeps printing more money. The dollar is getting weaker and weaker. And now we have the threat of rising inflation. How can you protect your hard-earned savings?
In an environment of high degrees of uncertainty, much higher levels of volatility,
I think you're going to see a bigger gravitation towards the idea of ownership of gold.
Plagues and wars and regime changes, gold and silver have held their value through all of that and more.
What you really need to do, get yourself some real, genuine protection that can be found in precious metals.
Call for these special reports and Precious Metals Guide. Find out how high massive money printing and inflation could send gold and silver prices.
I think gold and silver will win big.
When you call, ask how you can get $5,000 in bonus gold or silver. Call 800-960-3100. 800-960-3100.
New York City dogs got into the spooky spirit on Saturday to join the 31st annual Tompkins Square Halloween Dog Parade. Hundreds of pups and their owners donned costumes ranging from Spider-Man to the Pope. They paraded before thousands of spectators at the city's East River Amphitheater. The event started more than 3 decades ago as a fundraiser for the Tompkins Square Dog Run. Since then, it's grown into what's been called the biggest Halloween costume contests for dogs in the world. The event made a highly anticipated return this year after it was canceled in 2020. Down in Florida, the state kicked off its stone crab harvest on Saturday.
Get set! Go!
With a flurry of crab cracking and pounding, Florida's annual stone crab claw eating contest crowned a new winner. Contestants competed to crack and eat 25 stone crab claws in the fastest time. The claws had to be picked completely clean, since judges issued 30-second penalties for any meat left behind. 55-year-old Miami resident Juan Mayan reclaimed his champion title after finishing in 14 minutes, 29 seconds. It marked Mayan's 3rd win in the 10 years of the contest. His 2017 record of 12 minutes and 54 seconds still stands. Hundreds of Mayan artifacts have been discovered along a train construction site in Mexico. Researchers from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History announced they found nearly 2,500 pre-Hispanic structures, 80 burial sites, and thousands of fragments. The objects were along the route of a train construction project in Yucatan Peninsula. Some artifacts include a bowl and a spout vessel. Researchers believe they were used by the ruling elite during important political or religious movements. Preliminary analysis indicated the Maya had inhabited the area from 700 BC to as late as 850 AD. Archaeologists say the construction of the Mayan train is an important research opportunity through archaeological recovery, but critics say it will damage the environment and potentially harm other archaeological sites. Mexico's president has insisted the construction of the project will be conducted in a way that's safe for the environment and benefits tourism. And in Turkey, breathtaking video captured the moment 2 paragliders collided in midair and fell into the sea in a holiday resort. Video obtained by a local broadcaster shows the paragliders flying as part of an international air games festival, falling into the sea after the collision. 3 paragliders were hurt and taken to the hospital. In a separate incident, Turkish Coast Guards rescued a Ukrainian paraglider from the sea after she lost control and landed in the water. The woman was immediately spotted by Coast Guard units on duty and brought to safety. That's what the Turkish Coast Guard said in a written statement. It said the woman was rushed to a hospital. She was in stable condition. Some 2,000 paragliders and wingsuit athletes from 60 countries attended an international air games festival in a Turkish holiday resort, well-known destination for paragliding activities. And in Spain, central Madrid rang the sound of sheep bells as shepherds guided their flocks through the heart of the Spanish capital, following ancient migration routes.
Out of the paddock and into the city. The streets of Madrid were filled with sheep on Sunday as shepherds guided their flocks through the heart of the Spanish capital, following ancient seasonal herding routes.
I didn't realize that we were going to be so close to them. I thought there would be maybe more space, but I've seen people touch them, I've seen people pet them. I didn't realize that we were going to be right here.
The annual event, which started in 1994, allows shepherds to exercise their right to use traditional routes to herd their livestock from northern Spain to more southerly pastures for winter grazing. Shepherd Miguel Gonzalez has worked almost his entire life with the animals and said he was proud to support the traditional migration. We are reclaiming the royal cattle routes that are old paths that were used to take cattle across Spain, he said, clad in traditional dress. The route would have taken them through the quiet countryside a few centuries ago, but today sees them traverse through the bustling city.
Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Before you go, here's something you should know. Don't forget you can catch all of NTD's programs on television. NTD Business premieres live Mondays through Fridays at 5 p.m. We broadcast to many of your favorite platforms, Apple TV and Roku, for example. We're also rapidly growing on cable, satellite, and over-the-air all across the United States. Just go to ntd.com/TV, type in your zip code, and find all the ways you can watch NTD.